There are few games companies like Ancient, a developer that has endured over 30 years of an industry that has changed to become almost unrecognisable in that time. Not only have they shown that they can adapt, but they have done it all. Classic platform games, redefining the beat-em-up genre, creating classic adventures and so much more. While they have made games for almost every system under the sun, including some classics for Sega's rivals at the time, they are most fondly remembered for the icons they brought to Sega consoles. Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage, Story of 4, Shinobi. The DNA of Sega's icons runs deep through the company created by legendary composer Yuzo Koshiro. So it is only fitting that in 2025 the iconic Ancient and Yuzo Koshiro would come back home to the Sega Mega Drive. This is Dan the Mega Driver of the Sega Guys, and this is Earthion. Earthion is out now on Steam, with console versions due later this year and a Mega Drive cartridge due in 2026. Yes, that's right, this is another brand new aftermarket Sega Mega Drive game, some 37 years after the console launched. First announced in 2022 by Yuzo Koshiro himself, Earthion is a horizontal shoot 'em up in the vein of games like Thunder Force and taking inspiration from the likes of the very best of the genre. With Yuzo Koshiro behind the music and being the driving force behind the project, we had to buy this game day one on Steam. Now, just because it's on PC doesn't mean it's not a Mega Drive game, more on that a bit later, and the game is all the more impressive because it is tied to that 16-bit hardware. When you first boot the game, you get a choir singing the YKGGG brand, which is displayed in the classic Sega font. On first boot, the game defaults to a CRT style filter with the bezel and border. You do get a nice choice of backgrounds and frames, as well as the ability to change things such as your scan lines and other ratios. It's quite comprehensive and gives the game a truly modern feel. But unlike many other retro style shooters on Steam, Earthion is tiny in size, just 47 megabits, which is the first big hint that this is not a modern size game. The fact that the in-game option screen is completely independent of the visual options is yet another big giveaway. Anyway, the options are pretty decent here, letting you select the number of lives and use the sound test if you want to rock out to Yuzo Koshiro's epic tunes. You can even set the difficulty level, though that only changes the default option when the game starts. Now I've got to be honest, one of the highlights for me was hearing that classic Streets of Rage select sound when clicking through the menus, and that's not the only sound from that series that you'll hear through the game. When Earthion begins, it is absolutely epic. The countdown timer as the cockpit fades into view as our hero clicks buttons and grips the flight stick is superb. Then, as the game starts proper, your ship swings into view as you battle enemies in typical shoot 'em up style formation, while others use scaling trickery to give the illusion of additional depth. In those early moments, you're assisted by your allies in a battleship, only for a powerful enemy to tear through it and cast its wreckage into your path. There is so much about Earthion that is cinematic, and despite a fair amount of speech for the Mega Drive game, there's nothing by way of cutscenes. This is absolutely a case of show, not tell. It being a shooter, the finer details of the plot aren't wholly necessary if you want to enjoy the action. However, there is a little more by way of plot detail on the Earthion official website that reads as follows. With Earth's resources depleted and its environment in ruin, most of humanity has fled to Mars. But when hostile invaders launch an attack on Earth, mankind has no choice but to fight back. As environmental researcher Akusa Takanashi, you'll pilot the state-of-the-art fighter YKIIA and mount the most important counterattack in human history. Losing is not an option. I mean, it reads like something straight out of a 90s instruction manual, doesn't it? Which I do have a lot of time for. I actually hope that when the physical versions land, we see this blurb in the manual just like the days of old. In any case, this plot is little more than an additional motivator for you to jump into your ship and start blasting. Not that you should need too much motivation anyway, because the game is set up brilliantly. you control your ship much like any other shoot 'em up of its kind. You have one button to fire your primary blaster, you have one button to fire your secondary weapon which you'll pick up as you'll play, and one button to switch between your collected arsenal. Weapon pickups come by way of these large blue items and offer a variety of lasers, missiles, bombs and more that demonstrate great variety, and you'll need to get familiar with each to know how and when to use them. The other pickups in the game are these green crystals. They come in various sizes and their primary function is to power up your primary weapon. Your weapon has 2 levels initially, and when it is powered up, obviously it becomes much more effective. The green crystals also level up your secondary weapons, and you can track all of this with the green bars in the HUD, as well as the level indicator for your guns of choice. However, get hit and you'll lose that power, with your powered up blasters soon turning back into miserable little pea shooters. You'll also take damage to your shield too. Yes, that's right, Earthion is distinctly old school, but embraces modern mechanics such as holding only 2 weapons at once and a recharging energy shield, represented by the blue bars at the top of the screen. This may sound like sacrilege to old school shooter fans, but the mechanic works brilliantly well. Even on the easiest difficulty, the game is no pushover and your shield and weapons can be drained quickly if you're not on your A game. The mechanics all add up to the frenetic pace at which Earthion operates consistently. This feels like Thunder Force 4 with a dash of bullet hell, and the action never lets up, with waves of enemies, towering bosses and a litany of environmental hazards in your path. You get free continues to help you through the game's stages, and on higher difficulties these can be whittled down quickly. When you beat the game or have used up all of your credits, you get a password that lets you retain all of your stats and upgrades for subsequent playthroughs. That's right, between stages you can upgrade your ship, add another weapon slot, extra lives and more. Your empowered ship can help blast through the higher difficulties as the challenge ramps up and enemies become more numerous and aggressive, adding to the spectacle. Outside of the straight rush through the main campaign, there's a variety of challenges that begin as tough side missions and soon evolve into beautiful arcade score chasing obsessions. This is all backed up by some best in class visual and audio design. The graphics may well be the best yet seen on a Mega Drive game. The sheer volume of effects is mind blowing. The pixel art itself is beautiful. From Streets of Rage 2 to Story of 4, Ancient have been able to make Sega's 16-bit system sing, and Earthion feels like the absolute zenith of Mega Drive visual splendour, with a use of colour that seemingly matches or even exceeds what you would see on the Super Nintendo. The aforementioned scaling enemies and plethora of cinematic animations all add to the impressive detail, while some astonishing use of parallax and line scrolling top off a visual masterclass. And of course, Yuzo Koshiro is at the helm, and the sound design as a result is exceptional, with Koshiro-san coming back to the Yamaha sound chip like he never left. You'll no doubt have heard a number of the tunes during this footage, but they really are outstanding, suiting the on-screen action impeccably and being incredible chiptunes in their own right. Earthion really does feel like a modern retro game, like those pixel art homages to the past that look retro but are designed for modern hardware. Currently it is only available on Steam for a bargain price of £14.99. However, versions for consoles are due in September, with physical versions due later, including that cartridge for the Sega Mega Drive and Sega Genesis. Now, you may be thinking, hey, this game looks a little too good for Sega's aging hardware. But I can confirm that this is the real deal. The actual game size is actually even smaller than the Steam file size suggests. Within the game files is an encrypted binary file, which players have discovered contains the game's ROMs. Now, I can't be any clearer than I am being right now. Please do not download these ROMs, especially if you don't own the game. Ancient, for all their longevity and pedigree, are a very small developer who have been working on this game for years, and they need and deserve your support. With that being said, owners of the Steam game have shown that they have been able to play Earthion using the ROMs from that bin file. In there are multiple language versions, meaning that the language select in the Steam overlay switches the ROM itself. The main ROMs are too big for your standard emulators and Mega Drive flashcards, and currently, videos of users playing on real hardware have only been able to do so via devices such as the Mega SD and EverDrive Pro. There's also some demo and prototype versions within the package which show the game at various stages. As a test, I used one of the demo builds on my own Sega Mega Drive. So what you're seeing here is the demo running on real Mega Drive hardware, and as you can see, compared side by side, aside from some minor design changes, it is very much a visual match for the full Steam game. So be at ease, dear viewer, Earthion is truly a technical showcase running within the boundaries of what the Sega Mega Drive is capable of. It's a simply astounding achievement by Ancient to look as good as it does. Earthion is the complete package. Beautiful, stunning, challenging, and a joy to play. All shoot 'em up and Mega Drive fans should grab this game on their platform of choice as soon as they are able. This Steam version will run on pretty much any PC running Windows 10, so Sega fans should be able to grab this one regardless of their computer setup. Yuzo Koshiro has suggested that if Earthion does well, there'll be more Mega Drive projects in the future from Ancient. As a passion project by this small but iconic studio, headed by the legendary composer who gave us Sega fans so many memories through his work, Earthion is an absolutely stellar game that begs to be played, and already feels like one of the standout games on the Mega Drive in a genre already filled with astounding titles. Pick this game up from Steam now or on your platform of choice down the line and you will not be disappointed. This has been Dan the Mega Driver of the Sega Guys, and we will see you on the Sega side.